Next up, trip planning. You've gathered your gear, you requested time off work, and you're ready to start planning your first backpacking trip. You're probably pretty stoked. But where do you even begin? Well, let's talk about it. Trip planning is a huge part of preparing for your first or any backpacking trip. Every adventure requires a plan. I mean, it's the first rule of leave no trace after all, which you know. Because as the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And failing can be disastrous in the great outdoors. So it's extra important to know well before you set out where you're going, how long it will take you, and if there are any special items you need to bring with you that are unique to the destination. For example, if you are traveling in some regions of Canada, Alaska, and the Pacific Northwest, you will want to carry bear spray and a bear canister to store your food. Some parks even require it. In other destinations, like desert regions, you need to plan to pack in all of your water for your entire trip, as there may not be any natural water sources along your route. On more popular trails, like along the Appalachian Trail, you may be just a short walk from civilization every couple of days and can restock food and supplies anytime, so you won't need to pack as much. And in other regions, you absolutely must have a permit in order to camp overnight. Knowing all of this in advance is important for a successful and enjoyable trip. But let's start from the beginning, selecting where to hike. If you don't already have a trail or hike in mind, there are a number of tools to locate one that suits you. Naturally, you can use sites like OutsideMag.com or Backpacker.com, local hiking blogs, even local outdoor stores. But we also love using trail finding apps like AllTrails, OnX Backcountry, and Gaia. These will help you not only find trails that suit your skill and ability levels, but you can also look at photos, read other backpackers' reviews, and use the apps as digital maps to help you track your progress. But more on digital maps in a later lesson. As you search for trails, keep your expectations, physical abilities, and desires in mind in order to have the most enjoyable experience. For example, if you know you love waterfalls and epic views, don't pick a trail that's in a desert canyon or meanders through dense woods the whole time. It's okay and even encouraged to select your hikes based on what you enjoy and what you hope to get out of them. I mean, this is your trip. But you should also take terrain into account. For example, if you haven't been exercising or training for backpacking lately, more on that in a future lesson too, you probably won't enjoy a trip that involves a significant amount of elevation gain and loss. Your body will hurt, you will be tired, and nothing will seem terribly enjoyable. Trust me, I've been there. If, on the other hand, you are like me and love to be challenged, you may find a long, wide, flat trail incredibly boring and frustrating. Bottom line, take what you like and what you are physically capable of into consideration when selecting a route, and you'll have a much better time when you're out there. Then, make sure to research the permit process, because part of picking a trail or a destination or a park is researching whether you need a permit. Some places require them, others don't. Some parks let you pay for a permit and reserve backcountry sites the same day you're hoping to start your trip. Others require you to plan your whole route and get a permit months in advance. Sometimes they're free, other times you're gonna have to drop a pretty penny. So whether you're headed to a national park, forest, or wilderness area, check to see if you need a permit to spend the night in the backcountry. A quick internet search will probably tell you, but local outdoor store employees are often in the know too. You can also call a ranger station for more info. Now, we'll talk in much more detail about food and water in a future lesson, but for now, let's discuss how to know how much to pack after you've selected your route. Generally speaking, the average person will need about 3,000 calories per day while backpacking, give or take. Now, the exact amount varies greatly and largely depends on your size and weight, how strenuous the trail is, your metabolism, and more. But plan on eating more than you usually would on a day-to-day basis. Want a more dialed-in estimate? We have a calorie calculator on Terradrift.com to help you figure out how many calories you should eat per day of hiking, all things considered. Once you have that number in mind, reference it often while preparing or purchasing backpacking meals for your trip. Then bring more food with you than you think you need. It will likely take time and practice to pinpoint the sweet spot between too little and too much food, but always err on the side of too much. I've personally brought too much and too little on backpacking trips before, and while I might complain about the extra weight of too much trail mix, packing too little has led to rationed snacking, something you never want on a backpacking trip, going to bed hungry, and mild panic. So just pack the extra trail mix. How much water should you bring? Use maps, trail reviews, and parks departments to find out whether or not there will be water available along your route. That's a great place to start. For example, you may be crossing over multiple trailheads or developed campgrounds along the way that have water spigots available where you can refill as you hike. Or you may be hiking in a place with only natural water sources like creeks, lakes, and ponds. If that's the case, take extra care to ensure that those natural water sources actually contain water before relying on them for all of your hydration needs. The last thing you want is to assume a creek is running, have little to no water when you get there, and then the creek be completely dry because the area is in drought. This is where up-to-date trail reviews and parks departments or forestry services come in handy. Again, they're always handy, I don't know. More than once, we have called up a permitting office to ask whether or not we should expect there to be water in a natural feature along a trail. Occasionally, we have discovered that we cannot rely on that water source and that we do in fact need to carry in all of the water we need for the trip. But if you will be refilling at natural water sources, don't forget that you'll need to filter and purify that water, but more on that in a future lesson. Just make sure you have a plan for water as well as food and that you will never be in danger of running dry while in the backcountry. And keep in mind that the average person should drink approximately 1 liter of water per 2 hours of hiking. More if it's exceedingly hot and dry or the hike is especially strenuous. Plus, more for cooking and hot drinks. And don't forget about electrolytes and salty snacks. We'll talk more about the importance of those things in a later lesson, but never pack just water, especially when it's hot. Your body needs that salt too. Moving on. While you're planning your trip, don't forget to take transportation into consideration. Meaning, how are you getting to the trailhead to start your trip, and how are you getting back after a long one-way hike? For example, if you are driving to the trailhead and hiking a loop trail that begins and ends at the same spot, all you may need to do is check to make sure that there is parking available and research whether that parking lot regularly fills up by a certain time, which might prevent you from starting on schedule or at the location you initially planned upon. It's also important to know if you'll need a high clearance or four-wheel drive vehicle to reach the trailhead, or if the road has been flooded or blocked by downed trees. Trail reviews, forums, and park services departments can often give you an idea of whether or not any of these things could be an issue. So if you can't find the info online, call up the local land management office, whether it's a national or state park or public land, also known as Bureau of Land Management or BLM land, which is managed by the Forestry Service. If you're hiking point to point, meaning a long one-way trail where you won't be returning to the same trailhead at which you started, some sort of transportation may need to be organized. That could be as simple as asking a friend or family member to pick you up and shuttle you back to the start, or as complicated as organizing car key swaps with hikers going in the opposite direction, which you can do on hiking forums, via community bulletin boards, or on social media platforms. We've also hitchhiked back to the trailhead after a long one-way hike. Not everyone is comfortable doing that, but we find that, especially in national parks, a friendly outdoorsy person or family is almost always willing to give you a ride, especially if you stop to chat with them at some point along the trail. So be friendly while you're out there. It just might pay off. Some more popular one-way trails also offer shuttles from high-traffic start and end points, and at others you may even be able to hail an Uber. But the key is to plan ahead and have your transportation situation dialed in. But let's talk about trip planning from a timing and distance perspective, as in planning for how long the hike will actually take, keeping in mind that distance does not always directly correlate to time required. Now, we'll talk more about reading a map and better estimating timing based on topography in a later lesson, but for now, know that a 6-mile day is not a 6-mile day is not a 6-mile day. 6 miles can look and feel vastly different depending on conditions like elevation change, heat, the weight of your pack, altitude, and your relative hiking speed. There really isn't a way to automatically make an accurate guess as to how long 6 miles will take on any given hike. But when you're new to route planning, you can start by estimating that your hiking speed will likely be about 1.5 miles per hour. You may hike much faster than that. I usually do. Even on steep and arduous terrain, I often average closer to 2 miles per hour. More on flat trails in cooler or more temperate climates. But for the sake of planning your route and making an estimate regarding when you will finish, err on the side of taking your time. Don't try to overextend yourself, especially when you're new to backpacking. You'll learn soon enough what 6 miles feels like on different types of terrain and in different climates. Don't rush it. But in the beginning, give yourself plenty of time so you don't end up trying to race the sun to the campground in order to set up your tent before it gets dark. Honestly, that just takes a lot of fun out of the experience and makes it immensely more stressful. Listen, trust me, I know. So start by figuring out how many hours you have to hike, not that you need to hike for that many hours. Do so by figuring out sunrise and sunset. The number of hours in between is your daylight hiking window, or how many hours you have to cover whatever distance you have in mind. To figure out how long it will actually take to hike from point A to point B, locate on the map your starting and ending points, which may include trailheads or campgrounds. Take note of the distance and divide it by your average hiking time. 1.5 miles per hour or 1 mile per hour if you know you like to take your time or take frequent breaks. That's how much time you have to hike. But you don't have to finish at sunset. If you'd like to finish hiking at least 1 hour before sunset or 2, 4, whatever, use that time as the end of your hiking window. Working backward, subtract your estimated hiking time from the end time of your hiking window to decide what time you should start your hike in order to finish it in time. For example, if I'm planning a backpacking trip, I know I like a leisurely breakfast where I can sit, drink my coffee, eat my oatmeal, and take my time packing up to go. And I know I don't like cooking dinner in the dark if it can be avoided. So when I estimate my hiking window, I will probably cut an hour or so out of hiking time in the morning and at least an hour off the end of the day to enjoy sitting around camp during the last bit of daylight. In the summer, let's say that's 7 p.m. So in the summer, that might mean my hiking window is from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., an hour before I maybe want to eat. I have 12 miles to cover in a day and I'll average 1.5 miles per hour, meaning my hiking time will probably be around 8 hours. Now that I've done the math, I know the latest I should start hiking is 10 a.m. But if I want to give myself extra time to take a dip in a waterfall or explore a side trail, I should start at 9 a.m. instead. Make sense? Math. Isn't it great? Do remember, however, to factor in time to rest, eat, and simply sit and enjoy the scenery. You'll enjoy the hike much more if you're not just rushing from point A to point B in order to just get it done. You may have a certain number of hours of daylight available, but that doesn't mean you have to fill them all with activity. But let's move on to planning for weather. Depending on when and where you are hiking, you may need to be prepared for any and all types. So before your trip, check several weather forecasts for the surrounding region to know what sort of clothing and gear you will need to take with you. And don't just check the Weather Channel. In hard-to-reach areas far from civilization, like the backcountry, around mountains, at high altitudes, and in the desert, weather forecasts can be dubious at best and can change quickly. So also check park or forestry websites or call into offices to double-check. Often they're more familiar with the weather patterns in that area than local meteorologists and can better inform you as to what's expected and what you should bring along. Do remember though that weather is far from an exact science, so it's never a bad idea to bring items like rain jackets or dry bags just in case. Because knowing what to expect weather-wise, especially the forecasted temperature and precipitation, is extremely important when it comes to planning what gear and clothing you will need to bring, as it will not only make your trip more enjoyable, but could literally save your life. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up trip planning. So go ahead and get started on the next lesson, or go grab yourself a coffee and a PB&J. Take a break. You've earned it. I would like a PB&J. Josh, will you make me a PB&J with bananas? Apples. No bananas. No apples. Somebody give me a coin.